Hello and welcome to the G3 Pulse podcast. My guest today is Leo Bateman, VP of Business Development EMEA at Quixant. Leo, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Lewis. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again. It's been a while since we had a chat. I think the last time you were on was 2022. I think the UK Service Centre had just been opened and you had a chat to me about it back then.
In the depths of the supply chain issues. And
all chats were around that. Hopefully that's all behind us, but you can update us a little bit later on in terms of the trends and what's happening. But I want to kick off with the fact we have a shiny new ice show on the horizon. It's a different location, obviously, but it's also potentially a new audience maybe as well. How's Quixant preparing for Ice Barcelona?
So yeah, I agree. There will be a slightly different audience, I think. European gaming is generally a family of people that gather around wherever the need may be. But I think we're seeing in terms of what we're expecting from the exhibition itself, in terms of who will be there. All of our major customers are still going to be there. They've got UK representation. They may be slightly less likely to have their UK guys there, and then the European representatives will be taking care of that side of things in some cases. But we've seen actually more appetite from across the board in EMEA for people coming to Barcelona rather than London. You can surmise many opinions over why that might be, but I think it does give an advantage in terms of import and export. It does give an advantage in terms of getting to the exhibition itself and getting goods there and exhibiting. That also gives an advantage of being a new place and people getting to know a new area after so many years in London. So in terms of what we're going to do as Quixant, we always focus on ice hugely, and that's not changing whatsoever. We're even putting extra focus in it this year. We'll be sending a team over from across the world, from hardware side and software side, and some of our US guys will be over as well. So we got complete global coverage on it. And from a business perspective, you can expect the core of what Quixant has always been a market leader in terms of, cutting edge PC hardware, but also some really exciting software developments, and also all the way through to the fully finished cabinet. We're getting traction in that area as well. So from the PC hardware all the way up to the finished machine is what you can expect.
Okay, and obviously it's a new layout. It's I'm not sure which hall you're in exactly as well. I know they've been sectorizing all the halls as well. Is it a new booth, and how have you kind of organised that in terms of products?
So we've made the decision to have the same footprint of booth at ICE and G2E. There are two major exhibiting shows globally, so it made sense. So our footprint's changing slightly in terms of how we're going to display ourselves. It's going to be every year we try and improve the way that we're intuitive in the way that we present our products. So this time round, we'll be making sure that we open up everything to as many people as possible. So in terms of what we're doing, our footprint's changing a little bit, but we're still dealing with it in the same serious level. So all of our products will be there, and also we'll have an increased focus on the software side of things. There's some interesting developments going on there. So we're not, in the past, maybe we've had a bunch of computers on a stand. We're trying to think outside the box, outside, how can you apply those computers to other parts of our portfolio? And we're making sure that we link those things together. So evolving our offering in that respect.
And how do you organize it in terms of, obviously, the expectation you're going to get EMEA customers at the show, but there's also the part where Latin American customers are going to be there, customers from the States. Do you organize it in a kind of sectionalize the booth in that sense yourselves, or are all the products applicable?
Not really. I mean, we've got some computer products that are more relevant in terms of performance and price point to for example, the Argentinian market compared with the German market, for example, because there's different complexities of game that players are used to perform well. So you have our entry level hardware targeting LATAM a bit more than it will do EMEA territories. And what we've seen as well, interestingly, not to jump into another topic too quickly, but we've seen interestingly, sort of Africa is becoming more and more on the radar. So this is also an area where our entry level product is targeted as well. So it's not that we split the booth up into saying, right, over there, your LATAM customers are going to go and look at products, and over there you've got your EMEA, and over there you've got your US. We have different products for different price points and different complexities of content. But they may be, in all territories. It's dependent on the game that the software house or the OEM wants to put out to the market. So we just try and make sure that, with IQ and Icon and QMax, we got three very, very well-demarked ranges that can have relevance across the globe. But it sometimes, QMax might be more of a US product. IQ might be more of a LATAM product. We just make sure that we've got something relevant to everybody, and then we direct people to the right product rather than having a special area for LATAM, if you like.
Okay, thanks. I was there at G3 for the launch of the QMax 3, one of the ranges you mentioned. That's the kind of tippy-toppy kind of high point. I was wondering, obviously you launched the show. I was wondering, what's the response been since then? And where do you seeing it having the most impacting utility for ICE customers, but also specifically the EMEA?
QMax 3 is really, really interesting and really promising. We've always had this success. You shouldn't assume success, but there's a pattern to be had where you look back and you go, which products were successful for Quixant? Well, we had a product called the QX40, which was I don't know whether that was quite a few years ago. I don't know whether you remember back to those days.
Yeah. I remember. Really, I remember a lot of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the bedrock of a lot of our big selling products moving forward. And the QX40 was based around a simple concept. It was high performance, but it's performance that the market needed, not performance that we were shoehorning massive performance into a machine that nobody needed. We were looking at the market and going, you need that, but also it's giving you headroom to deliver something in the future, and also a form factor that worked for the market and such like. And with QMax 3, we've essentially come full circle round to 2024, and this is kind of like QX40 in its second coming.
Wow.
Yeah, so it delivers the form factor, it delivers the performance, but it delivers the price point that is actually really, really attractive to customers. We found that there's three things you've got to do, I think, in this business. You've got to listen to the market, you've got to innovate, and you've got to have reliable product. And if you've got those three things sorted, then you're doing reasonably well. And we think that QMax 3 is a really good mixture of all three of them. We haven't innovated something that the market, like, a Ferrari to go in the shell of a Vauxhall. We haven't innovated that. We've innovated something that the market actually needs, but it's got some really cool features that can actually drive the market, and then something that's reliable as well. So QMax 3, as you say, debuted. It debuted earlier this year, and we've seen some really, really strong interest in the new SKU of it, which utilizes a new graphics card, the Intel A380 graphics card, which is a really high performance, good cost point graphics card. But the main point is that you can harness any graphics card capability with that product that you want to. So you could not use a graphics card, or you can use any one of your choice. Just tell us and you can use it. So in that case, it kind of opens up all the possibilities to have one product that you can then build on and build on and build on, but not have to recertify all the time, because you're not changing your hardware all the time. And this is really important in EMEA. It's been an all-in-one platform geographical market for a long, long time. And that's mainly been because an all-in-one platform, rather than a QMax style platform, which is not to get too technical, is a tray and backplane style. So you can pull out the motherboard tray and keep the connectors separate in the machine. The EMEA market has always really been an all-in-one platform hardware platform market. We're now seeing a lot of interest in actually moving to the QMax architecture because it has now got this versatility, and it's got there's potential there to have a really, really cost-effective product that's got a load of features and it's got really good serviceability. So it's a sense we've got a lot of people in development on the product. It's relatively new, but we're hoping over 2025 just to move a lot of projects into mass production, and for QMax 3 to sort of take up the mantle the QX40 had all those years ago.
Okay. And is that a kind of a, I guess, in terms of the customer who would be applicable for that? Is there a wide range, or is it quite a tight band of customers for whom that's applicable?
I mean, coming back to my comment about the Argentinian market, the LATAM markets, that 2-screen machines, generally smaller footprints, because you need to fit more machines into a bar or whatever, or you have regulations meaning you can't have a certain size over a certain size of machine. So for that, you're talking about less complexity of game because the resolution can be lower because the screen's smaller and all that kind of stuff. QMax then might be overkill, so then you'd be looking at our IQ range of product more so, or maybe into our Icon range of product. But outside that, I think that, as I said before, there is this now overlap where people are going, right, actually, it's really cool you can have the graphics card capability and versatility because you can upgrade and upgrade and upgrade using the same platform. And that means that you can move out of the all-in-one platform reliability and relying on that type of platform a little bit if you're able to invest in it. So LATAM, more, we speak about LATAM opportunities. They're the vast majority are IQ and Icon, so are all-in-one platforms. But in EMEA, we're getting this shift towards QMax. In the US, it's skewed towards QMax quite a lot. So it's dependent on, there's a tipping point in terms of, can we invest to a level to have this advanced level of hardware platform for the content that we need to drive in a certain market or jurisdiction. And we're seeing tipping points happening all over the place. But clearly there's something right about this product. We're pitching it right, and it's delivering above and beyond expectations. So I'd say 50% of the market certainly could use this product. The other 50% would be more of an IQ and Icon territory.
Yeah, and I apologize for diving into this a bit further, but Leo, from what you're saying, so are the markets going for all-in-ones platforms for simplicity and reliability, but do you sacrifice some flexibility with that? And does the QMax 3 add that back in?
Yeah, you do. So there's pros and cons to everything. So there's, QMax 3 is actually a really, really cost-effective product. So cost is an implication of whether you go all-in-one or you go QMax style. But it's more about flexibility of features, as you say. It's more about serviceability is interesting as well. You have an all-in-one box. If you want to change that all-in-one box for another all-in-one box, you got to take the whole box out, put another box in. If you want to do it with QMax, there's potential there to take the tray out, put another tray in. Much simpler. It's a lot about culture as well. In the US, it's really interesting. The US has always grown up on technicians. They have this mindset that you have a bunch of trays in your technician's van. You go out to a casino, you change the tray, you get your machine up and running, job done. And you go back, and from that point, you analyze whether what you did was the right thing. Right. Whereas and that's down to a certain number of factors. Like there's more revenue going into the US casino market. So you're capable of like basically putting more investment in servicing. Whereas in the European markets, you look at the pros and cons of putting less CapEx investment in at first in the platform itself, and then looking at how often you need to service it. And if it still doesn't tip the balance and go into, well, actually, it's probably better to have a more serviceable PC platform, then you stay in all-in-one territory. But where we're seeing something really interesting is we're making sure that we've always had, in the olden days, we had the QXI range and the QX range, and the QXI range is now where IQ and Icon is. And the QXI was all in one, so integrated processor, the I stood for. And you'd see, QXI was considerably lower price than QX. Now we're seeing smaller gaps. So you actually have a choice to go into your preferred level of serviceability. If you want to stick with all-in-one, great. An advantage of all-in-one is that you can have a fanless product. You can't have that with a tray and backplane type product, because the idea of a tray and backplane type product is it has high performance, and with high performance comes processors that are quite hot, and to cool that you need a fan. So there are some markets that are really, really, it's very interesting actually. There are some markets that are devout fanless board users. You go to Belgium, every hardware platform in Belgium will have to be fanless because of the environments that the machines are in. Meaning that if you have a fan, there's a danger of degradation, and you can't control that. You control it to some extent, but that creates unpredictability. So in Belgium, everybody wants a fanless board. That's got to be an all-in-one board. So there's all sorts of different variants. There's serviceability, there's the fanless side of things, there's market-driven bits. It's fascinating, really.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's part of the kind of mix. I was talking about the actual stand. How do you send people around your booth coming from different markets who have different preferences and different needs and different wants? And that's just basically how do you move that traffic around the booth and give something to everybody?
Yeah, I mean, so we make sure we have product for everybody, but it's complex, and it needs a team that understands your product properly, doesn't it? So that's integral to what we do. We make sure that people understand our product properly and how markets work. And, even within a certain market, you might have multiple tiers of machine. So there, you're looking at the UK market, you've got B2, B3, C1. You can put different types of PC in different types of category in the UK, and a lot of markets are like that. So you've got to have knowledge on how this is why Quixant's so great, because we have people who understand the market, not people who just work in electronics, people who understand how gaming works, how you have a certain computer for a certain sector of a certain market, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work somewhere else. So yeah, my answer to your question is it's we make sure we do it in product, and then we make sure that our people know our product.
You've mentioned obviously in detail there about hardware that be used at the show. What have you got? I know everything runs and ties together very much with software, and I was just wondering what the software message is from Quixant for ICE Barcelona.
Yeah, so we've got some exciting developments moving along at the moment that over the next year or so will gather a bit of pace. We've always had our core software offering, which is a bit overlooked, I think. So we're working on making sure that's front and center of what we offer outwardly. There's things like SaaS that we're really strong at and creates a really good USP for us. We also have the different levels of system management and driver management and all of these kind of low level libraries that actually help customers move their game into the market really quickly. We've always been really good at that, and I think we should applaud ourselves a little bit more than we actually do for that, and focus on the fact that we're a really good hardware company, but also we supply the software to enable games to get to market quickly. And with what we're doing over the next year or so, there'll be a lot more of that. There'll be a lot more complex. In what we do, it will be a lot more complex, but it'll allow our customers to reduce their complexity their side and get to market even quicker. Because that's the whole point of this whole thing, is that everybody makes some profit at some point. And it's really exciting actually. We have every year we have a lot of new projects with customers where their sole objective is to just get this thing done, get the machine out there with a successful game and make some money. I mean, that's the end point of everything. And if we can do that with as few interactions as possible with Quixant, we think we're good, but we don't want our customers seeing us every day for 4 years. We're not going to get very far with that. So if we can optimize their route to market, then sure, that's what we should do. So from a software perspective, that's what we're working on. And as I say, over the next year or so, you'll see a lot more.
You mentioned markets there. I was wondering, are there any particular markets, Leo, that you're focusing around? I guess from ICE onwards, but also into 2025.
That's a really good question. I'm going to turn it a little bit on its head, actually. The markets are actually, if we think, in my mind, I think more about customers than markets. So our customer deals in certain markets. And so, for example, we'll have a customer who's working in the UK and South Africa. We will make sure that the computer that we sell to them is bulletproof for the South African market, for example, and everything that computer needs in terms of having that little bit of metal over the intrusion switch to make sure that the South African authorities think it's all right, that kind of stuff. We'll make sure that happens. But I think as a company, we don't think of what markets we're targeting as much as we think of how we can help customers get into markets. And they have the thought on the market that they attract. We have to make sure that our product is regulatable for, I'm not sure if I create a new word by myself.
Maybe.
Maybe. They made sense. So for every market that a product should go into through GLI, BMM, all the test houses, we're proven that we can get computer products and increasingly cabinet products as well into those jurisdictions and get them approved. So from a market point of view, yes, we do certainly intrinsically care about what markets our customers are putting product into. We make sure that it will be approved for those markets, and we can be confident of that. But in terms of what markets we target, it's more our customers targeting them and us making sure we can enable them to deliver into them. There are markets opening up all over. In Thailand, Philippines, the Far East is really interesting, and US sports betting as well. That's great. And there's some really good things happening in Eastern Europe as well. The numbers in Croatia, Macedonia, those kind of markets are really interesting as well. So we do see a lot of customers moving into these markets, but our core objective is enabling them to get into those markets as quickly as they can.
You mentioned though about sports betting, and dipping back to ICE a little bit. It's always been a multidisciplinary show. Lots of the whole melting pot of all the gaming industry coming together. Should sports betting operators and online operators as well be thinking about Quixant and thinking about visiting you at ICE Barcelona?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I think one thing, online to land-based is one of the most exciting opportunities for us out there, I think. Now, it's not, and by online to land-based, I'll just clarify what that means. That if somebody's got an online game that somebody plays on a mobile, how do you get that game onto a slot machine? Because what's happening in online is that online has not had a crazy amount of regulation over the years. You haven't seen the regulation that land-based has had, and there's reasons for that, right? But it's starting to change, where we're seeing an increasing number of people coming to us and saying, I'm interested in putting this HTML5 content onto a slot machine. Can you help me? And this is where our core competency is right now in terms of integration. We've brought in new people into the business whose main skill is delivering software applications that can allow people to do that exact thing. So with this increase in online to land-based, I think online companies should absolutely come to Quixant to understand what we can offer, because even if they haven't got a need right now, I think that they're going to see in their online markets and the rise of land-based in a lot of different territories, there's a lot of opportunity there. And it feels like ice this year will be, it's already started a bit. Like compared with 3 or 4 years ago, it's really, really, really significant. I think there's going to be a major shift very soon into a lot of online companies saying, right, let's go into land-based. Let's make this serious. There's always been, in 2019, I remember, we had multiple inquiries about online content into land-based. And then obviously 2020 didn't help the situation whatsoever. And it put the whole thing back. And online was so successful during COVID that we got through 22 and 23, and it was still, there was this spectre of what would happen if it happened again, and what would happen to land-based. Now that's gone, right? And the online people are realizing by the day that there is worth in not only looking into this thing, but starting to get regulated in this thing in terms of land-based. It's not. You have to spend quite a lot of money to get into these markets, but the outlay is suddenly looking like it's going to be worth it.
Right.
So absolutely should do it. On sports betting, it's similar kind of concept. You've got online to land-based, but you've also got online sports betting to land-based. You've got, we have a kinetic cabinet in our range, which is our sports betting terminal. So we have that on offer. We also have hardware platforms that are suited and increasingly suited to the sports betting applications. So I think on both sides, there's real worth in operators coming to us and understanding how they can partner with Quixant, particularly from having a piece of content and going, how do I get that out into a sportsbook operator, or how do I get that out into casino? We can not only deliver that technically, but we can consult. We can say this is actually the way that you do it, because we know with the people we've got how you do.
Yeah, it's probably my fault. I think about Quixant as being able to help in that transition from online and sports betting into a hardware piece of it. You mentioned there about the software, the capability of the software being able to help in that transition, and that's probably a starting point more than even think about the hardware. How do you go from that mobile game HTML game to something which is software applicable for a cabinet, for like you say, a hardware platform?
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly. There's kind of like a step-by-step process where it's kind of like, right, well, the concept works. If the concept works, then how do I make the concept work? And if I know that, then I'm going to know what kind of hardware I need to drive that software concept into the market. So it's a really interesting thing in that where the computer comes in the process of thought, and it shifts all around all over the place. I mean, in the olden days, it was like, right, I need a PC, and then we'll figure out everything else after that. Whereas now it's like, what PC that we supply in tandem with the software that we can help you with can actually deliver the concept that you're thinking of. So sometimes the hardware can actually become at the end of the thought process. So, it's hardware plus software plus knowledge, meaning that we can help people deliver this quick.
Yeah, very succinct. Finally, Leo, we started off by chatting about the fact that we were, last time we were speaking, 2022, we were kind of future gazing, and there's lots of restrictions in the market and problems. I was wondering, what do you see? Are there any trends that looking into 2025? It was a kind of I'll create our New Year's lists about things. Are there things on your rider for the new year that you think are important for people to think about as we look into the next year?
I'm going to revert back to question before. I think again the trend of online to land-based is, and how you carry that out is the real trend that we're seeing in our conversations. So that's one thing. I think you talk about technology, you talk about innovation. What trends are you looking at? Well, obviously, machines are getting bigger. We're seeing we speak to monitor suppliers, and they're seeing 55-inch screens being their biggest seller for the first year ever. Everything's getting bigger. So in terms of trends, what does that mean? Well, that means if everything's getting bigger, then content needs to get sharper and more complex because it's bigger. You don't want poor content on a big screen. That's the worst thing you could possibly do. So then, by bigger screens, you get the need for more complex hardware, and that's where we come in. But you also get the need for, how do you deliver that content in different environments, like land-based, like online, like sports betting. So in terms of technological trends, everything's getting bigger. Market trends, I mentioned Far East earlier. That's really interesting. Japan was a big one from a couple of years ago. I mean, we're even seeing casino licenses being granted for UAE now. So that there's big movements, and any concerns from a couple of years ago that this market was stagnant, I think, have been allayed. I would say, in Europe, the trends are quite interesting. That it is generally a finite market in terms of number of machines, but you've seen, the white paper in the UK. We hope that that's going to deliver something really strong. And in Europe, you get, I think when there's innovation in game development, there's always going to be this fight for a share of the finite market, which, if you're delivering great hardware platforms like we are, and great knowledge, then we're always looking to have a piece of that. So, a set number of machines doesn't necessarily mean that the market's just going to stay as it's always been. So in Europe, we're seeing different strategies to try and take market share, different types of different ways games are displayed, online games coming across to land-based, and all that kind of thing. So I think it feels after COVID that the market's very fresh. There's a lot of forward thinking in order how to optimize this kind of set number of machines that are out there, and it's great. So even in areas where the market isn't necessarily growing massively, there's still potential for innovation, and there's still potential to put a lot of new cabinets out there. But coming back to trend number one, massively online to land-based all the way. And I think in a couple of years' time, you'll see a lot of the online operators, a lot of the sportsbook guys who've never been into land-based, never been into sports betting. You'll see a lot of them in US sports betting, for example. So yeah, that's what I would say. It's ever evolving, and it's very exciting, and we just need to make sure that we're part of every aspect of those trends, which we are.
Should I be surprised, Leo, that you haven't mentioned artificial intelligence, or is that something that isn't on? Where are you sitting right now?
That's a very good question. I think it's something that will happen, but to me, it feels a little bit like 3D in some way. You remember that, everything's going to go 3D, and we had 3D monitors for a little while. But what I would say, technologically and player behavior wise, there's still a lot of traditionalism in gaming. So AI is technology, right? So it's not how players are behaving, but I still think that there is that human touch that is needed in order to develop content that players understand. So with that in mind, I think it'll be something that's dipped into a lot, but is it going to take over the market in the next 10 years? I'm not convinced.
Okay. Well, there's a definitive answer on a question that is on lots of people are debating it, as you say. So it's kind of interesting where it kind of fits into your kind of thought process, particularly for the year ahead. Leo, it's been great chatting to you. Thank you for the catch up and the explanation. I do look forward to obviously catching up with you on the ICE booth in Barcelona in, I think it's several weeks' time now. So we're healed. As we get Christmas and New Year out of the way, we can get onto the proper stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you very much for participating, and hopefully we'll get you back on the podcast in much faster than 2 years.
Brilliant. Thank you, Lewis. Good to speak to you.
Cheers, Leo. Bye. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. If you want to watch more, why not subscribe to our channel? Just click here.